Building Websites with WordPress workshop. This is a series of workshops where I'm going to walk you through building your WordPress website and also talk about how you can change the layout of your website, change the design, like the front end design, and add more functionality to your website, figure out how to do the SEO for your website, and how to do Google Analytics for your site. Before we go into these workshops, let's talk a little bit about WordPress. WordPress, if you don't know already, is a content management system, which means it gives you all the tools to just manage your content, which is your pages and your blog posts and all those things. It gives you a very easy way to manage those, add, delete, whatever. You don't have to worry about writing HTML and CSS. You can if you want to, but you don't need to. And you can simply set up a website with a few clicks and you're good to go. And WordPress is one of the easier content management systems out there. There are many others like Drupal, Joomla, Magento, but WordPress is one of the easier ones. It started out as a blogging platform and quickly it evolved into much more than a blogging platform. Today, you can set up a WordPress website for pretty much any kind of website you want. E-commerce, learning websites, and many other membership websites. So any different kind of website you want, you can pretty much build it with WordPress. So before we go building with WordPress, let's take a quick look at the overview of the workshops. So these are all the things that I will be covering. It might not be one workshop, it will be a series of workshops, but it kind of one workshop leads into the other. And now there are two different types of WordPress installations or WordPress websites. Before we go building with WordPress, let's look at what these two different kinds of WordPress are and which one suits you the best. WordPress.com and WordPress.org, which is a self-hosted WordPress site. WordPress.com is, you must have seen a lot of WordPress.com sites where you have the blog name or your site name .wordpress.com. Basically here, WordPress has its own servers and they are hosting your site on their servers. And you don't get a domain name, but it's on their servers, so it goes with their WordPress.com domain name. So the advantages of WordPress.com are it's a free account. You don't have to pay for anything. It's pretty easy to set up, just a few clicks and your site is ready to go. You can start adding your content. You don't have to worry about maintaining your site or keeping your site secure because WordPress takes care of all of that. But there are some cons to it too, where you don't get to customize your site as much. You get a little bit of customizing options, but not much. You cannot add a custom theme. Theme is what gives you the front end design and colors and layout of your site. So you cannot do a custom theme. You can only choose from what WordPress already offers you. And if you look at WordPress.org, which is a self-hosted WordPress, here you have a domain name of your choice. Then you need to get a hosting service. So basically you're paying for your own domain name and you have your own hosting. You pay for your own hosting and then you install WordPress on your hosting. And it is really easy to set up, but as with anything, there is a little learning curve with the process. But once you get past that, it's pretty easy to figure it out and work with your site. And here you have the ability to add a custom theme. or custom CSS to change colors or fonts. You don't have to, but if you want to, you could do it. And you need to maintain your site regularly. Make sure your themes are up to date. Your WordPress keeps releasing new versions. Basically fixes and bugs to keep your site secure. So you need to make sure you're updating new versions on a regular basis. So between WordPress.com and WordPress.org or self-hosted WordPress, which one is better for you? If you're looking for a site to just set up a blog or a hobby site, like you're doing some arts and crafts, or you want to set up a cooking blog, it's preferable to start with a WordPress.com site because there is no underlying cost. It's a free account. You set it up. You get a little bit of support if you need to, and you can just get started. So if it's just a hobby site and you do not want to invest money into it, that's a good start. But if you think you want to do an e-commerce site, or for example, let's say you're doing some free video tutorials now on anything, but eventually you think you might want to start charging for your tutorials or charging for some courses, then it would be ideal to set up your own self-hosted WordPress site, because WordPress.com has limited functionalities for those kind of sites, whereas WordPress.org or self-hosted site has a lot more possibilities. And yes, you're paying for your domain name and hosting, but if you want to do a tutorial site or an e-commerce site, it's better to go with WordPress.org. And again, one more thing with the self-hosted site, you also need to make sure your site is secure. But there are some awesome plugins available, which we will talk about it in the later workshops. So let's come to domain name and hosting. So there are some good domain name websites available. Some of these you can go Namecheap, name.com, Network Solutions. I've used Network Solutions and Namecheap before. All of them are pretty good. And then for hosting services, there are many different hosting services. It depends on how much you want to pay and what services they're offering. If you are just starting out, I would suggest whichever hosting you want to go with, make sure they have good support because you are going to need it. Make sure they have some good plans and easily upgradable plans. Those would be the two things I would look for. Mainly the support, because you are definitely going to need it at least initially. And one more point here is, it might be even most of the hosting services give you the option to purchase a domain name with them. So you can purchase a domain name and hosting with the same company. So let's say SiteGround. You can purchase a domain name and a hosting service from SiteGround. If you do that, it gets easier to set up your website because the domain name and hosting are connected already, and there's one less step in setting up your website. And the other thing is, once you have a domain name and hosting, you need to install WordPress on your self-hosted site. But most of the hosting companies now provide you with self-installation options, and they also provide you the option to set up WordPress for you. So when you pay for hosting, ask for it. Ask if they will set up the WordPress site for you. Most of the hosting companies do that now. So there is, one less step for you. You purchase the domain hosting, they set up the site for you, and you can just start using the site and adding your content to the site. And any of the hostings mentioned here, and there are a lot more hosting companies available. It just depends on the amount you want to pay and their support available. And start out with the basic plan. That should be good to get you started and set up. And if you think you need more resources later, you can always upgrade. And that's also why we need to make sure the plans are easily upgradable and downgradable, and the hosting company is not giving you a hard time doing that. Next, we go to installing WordPress. So before we go do this, there's a self-installation help. If you go to wordpress.org, there is a support where it talks you through how to install WordPress. That is manual installation of WordPress. We are not going to do that now. Today I'm going to show you how to do the WordPress installation using the auto installer provided by most of the hosting companies. So let's look at the hosting cPanel. So once you get your domain name and hosting, you log into your hosting account. They will have something called a cPanel. cPanel is nothing but it's like the file manager or the explorer in Windows that we have, where you look at all the different folders and files on your hosting. That is the cPanel for you. And once you install WordPress, you most likely will never have to come back to the cPanel. Everything is managed from your WordPress site. So again, if the hosting can do the installation for you, go for it. It will help you a lot. But if they don't, this is a pretty easy step. So go to your cPanel, and there is something called auto installers, where you will find other, like I said, the other content management systems too, but there's also WordPress. So all you do is click on WordPress. It will take you to the installer page. So here, everything about WordPress, and then say install now. When you say install, it gives you which version. Usually the latest version is shown here, so you can leave it at that. You don't have to do anything. And the installation URL, this is usually the domain that your hosting account is connected to. So if you purchased a domain name and connect it to your hosting account, that will show up here. And since if you're setting this up for the first time, you can just leave your domain name as is, because you want the WordPress installation done on your domain name. But for me, I already have a website here, so I am going to do a folder. I'm going to set up WordPress as a subdomain or a folder in my domain. So I'm going to do WP demo. Please don't do this if you want your WordPress on your main domain. And next, in the installer, you choose your site name. This can be changed later. This can be changed multiple times. So I wouldn't really worry about it. You can set it up here if you want to. I am going to just say WordPress demo site. And the site description, again, you can change this later. Okay. And you do not need a multi-site. And this is the important part here. So admin username, please select something that makes sense to you, either your name or your if you're doing a company name, something like that. One thing to avoid is using the name like admin, because that is easily what is it? People can just get those kind of usernames really easily. And if somebody's trying to hack your site, you will be giving them easier ways to guess your usernames. So it's always advisable to have a username like your name or company name or something that has more meaning to you. And again, admin password, you can have your own password. You can just go here, generate a new password. And for now, I would copy and save this password elsewhere. You will need it later. You can always reset the password too if you forget, so not too big of a concern. But this is the most important part. Please make sure you have your correct email address, because you will get an email once the installation is done. And also, if in the future you need to change your password, you need your email address. So make sure you have your email address correctly here. And obviously you can choose your language. We're going to do English today, but WordPress is actually available in many different languages, like you can see here. And then these are the plugins that the hosting installs by default. Ideally, for the most part, you wouldn't need them. So for today, we're going to not use these plugins. And SiteGround at least offers an easy setup wizard kind of thing when we install WordPress. Whether it's easy or not is debatable, and it depends, I think, on the person using it. For today's demonstration or today's setup, we are not going to use it. But if your hosting has something like that, you can try it out. And then we're not going. There are some advanced options which talk about databases. We really don't have to change anything there. You can just let it be. That's the nice part about doing the auto installer compared to the manual one. In the manual one, you need to install your WordPress, create databases, users, and connect them, and all that fancy stuff. And now click install. Wait for the installation. It should just take us like about 2 minutes. It's a pretty quick installation. Less than that actually. And there you go. So here is your site. This is the front end of your site, and the administrative URL takes you to the back end. So if you click on it, it takes you here. And this is your WordPress admin dashboard. And if you look at this, this is your WordPress site. This is how it look when you first install WordPress. And let's talk about a little bit more about the WordPress dashboard and the components of the dashboard in the next